that's ultimately what got him fired is when he couldn't take that step forward after that step back. It was 2 steps back and 3. Then, the disaster that happened a couple weeks ago with Mexico and Costa Rica losing 4-0 to Costa Rica on the road. I mean, some of the stuff with Jurgen Klinsmann, you can't just get yourself out of when you play teams like Germany or Belgium or, Netherlands. You can't always schedule those games to get yourself out of it. So, with all that being said, and that was really long lead up to a question, ultimately, do you think the U.S. got this right by firing Jurgen Klinsmann? I think I know your answer.
Yeah, it was time. I mean, I'm not really one to advocate hey, you should fire this guy, or hey, this guy should lose his job, because these jobs are hard, and I think the people that are doing the jobs know way more about it than guys like us. But at the same time, the way that things were going, again, that ego where Klinsmann was just so dead set on doing things that just weren't working, or at least he wasn't adaptable to certain situations, and that, and his player selection in terms of the people that he was and wasn't choosing. I think there were a number of different things, and plus just the way that U.S. had been such a force, especially. You had that Mexico game in Columbus. That's supposed to be Fort Knox for USA in terms of any team that comes in there. You're supposed to get that win. And USA played much, much better than Mexico in the second half. But that was when they decided to change things back to a normal formation as opposed to the experimental stuff that Klinsmann tried to go into that game with. So, yeah, it was time to make a change. And again, I just think that Bruce Arena is the perfect man for this job. In terms of just kind of holding the position until we figure out who's going to be next.
My favorite part about that Mexico game, if you can find one, it's this one. It's Jermaine Jones and Michael Bradley running over Jurgen Klinsmann. It's like a dad. It's like Jurgen Klinsmann's a dad, and his son and his friend want to do something, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they finally go up and ask their dad if they can do it or not. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, hey, we can't win this game if we keep playing this way, so we need to switch.
Yeah. I mean, he had some good moments in Copa, but when you get thrashed by Argentina and you're supposed to, be up there, your system's supposed to be up there with the Argentinas, Germany, and Chile's and Brazil's of the world. And you get thrashed 4-0, I mean, you're not the guy. Your vision's not living up to what it's supposed to be, so you're not the guy we want. All right, let's talk about some of the stuff you're doing. Tell us about Mouse of the South. Tell us about Dirty South Soccer.
Yeah, you guys can find us on DirtySouthSoccer.com. We're the SB Nation page for Atlanta United, and it's been great. We've been doing it for over a year, and then made the jump to SB Nation over a year ago, and we've gotten a really, really good and good sized following here. So it's been fun. It's been great, and we're just geared up for Atlanta United to start things off here in 2017. You can also listen to us. We're the Mouths of the South with a podcast for DirtySouthSoccer.com. And, we just talk all things Atlanta United. We also jump into U.S. soccer discussion and things like that whenever it is necessary. So you can follow on Twitter. Dirty South Soccer is at – excuse me, my microphone fell out there. Dirty South Soccer is Dirty South Sock. That's S-O-C, so Dirty South and then S-O-C on Twitter. You can follow the Mouths of the South podcast at MOTS Podcast. And I'm at Sam J. Franco on Twitter. So those are all the different ways to get in touch with me and with us.
It's a great podcast, man. Listen to the Jurgen Klinsmann episode. Y'all do some great stuff over there.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
All right, moving on to, after, of course, the U.S. wins the 2018 World Cup, which they're bound to do, who are some of the candidates to replace Bruce Arena if he were to leave and not want the job anymore? So I have some written down. I have Ty Bramos, which is the name I've heard the most.
Mm-hmm.
He's the head coach of the under-20s for the U.S. Peter Reeves of Kansas City, Caleb Porter from Portland, J.C. Marsh from the Red Bulls, and Louis van Gaal, the former manager of Manchester United, also got the Netherlands very, very far in the World Cup. So I was wondering if out of those, or if you want to add one, what candidate do you see you as hiring as, the main man going forward?
Yeah, I think some of those names are good. I'm partial to, before Atlanta, got their team or is getting their team, I've been a Portland Timbers supporter and fan. And so I've always liked what Caleb Porter has done up there. They've had a really good run, obviously winning MLS Cup last year. I don't necessarily dislike Tab Ramos as a choice, but, I think there could be some more inspiring choices. And the interesting name there, and as a Manchester United guy, I don't think Louis van Gaal would be the name I would choose first, but I don't see why you're limiting yourself. This isn't an MLS job where you need to understand the league and the ins and outs of the league and everything like that, or at least people think that way. I know Atlanta United didn't think that way when they hired Tata Martino, but that's the thing. If Atlanta United can go out and hire the former manager of Argentina, Paraguay, and Barcelona, why can't U.S. Soccer go out and do that? I think there are plenty of names out there that would love a challenge like that. And that's the big thing that got Martino to Atlanta United was he wanted the challenge. So I think there's a lot of big-time managers out there that, in 2 years' time, who knows what the landscape will be. So I think that there are plenty of big-time managers that, at club level in Europe and, all around the world that maybe you call them and see what they would do. I'm not really talking about some of the older guys like a Fabio Capello or anything like that because, I think that those are ideas that could probably use some freshening up. But that's the thing. You never know how long these guys are going to be there. So look at, a team like Wales or some of these other teams that have good young teams and have been brought along with good managers. So I think that you don't need to limit yourself. I'm not just going to sit here and speculate throwing out names of European, or South American, coaches. But yeah, I think that you don't have to limit yourself to just the names that we're constantly hearing, like Tab Ramos, fine coach, Caleb Porter, great coach. But, this needs to be a extremely expansive search where you're going out there and identifying, 10 candidates and really just kind of nailing it down as the guy that you think can do the best. Because look, you do have a head start if you understand the player pool and things like that a little better. But when you're a national team coach, you don't have games every week, so there is plenty of time to familiarize yourself with all that.
So basically what I got from all that, if Manchester City's not doing well in a couple of years, Pep Guardiola.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying, Pep Guardiola, but I'm saying don't limit
guys like that, you just go out and if nothing gets said or get told no. Just go ask.
That's the thing. All they can do is tell you no. So
yeah, like Jose Mourinho, those type of guys. Luis Enrique, those guys are having bad seasons right now. I'm not saying those type of caliber coaches are coaching at Manchester United and Barcelona, but the type of coaches are coaching Liga or some of the lower league Premier League coaches or the championship coaches. Don't just go out and get an MLS coach that knows, because like you said about the head start, you can have a head start, but once you reach your ceiling, I guarantee that European guy's ceiling is much higher than a Jesse Marsh or a Caleb Porter.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I'm not saying that those guys aren't right for the job. I'm just saying that, you don't need to limit yourself to just MLS guys or just guys that have worked within U.S. soccer. I think that, you need to do a global search to find the best man for the job. And I really do think that could come from really anywhere. And, I think a lot of the times with American international sports, we have this tendency to say it's got to be all American. You got to have an American coach. You've got Abby Wambach spewing hot takes about not having players of international origins or whatever, which quite frankly, she needs to keep her mouth shut about stuff like that. But no, I just think that you should never limit yourself. You should, there's a line in the old Kanye West song, reach for the stars, because if you fall, you'll land on the cloud, So there's no reason to not shoot for the stars and not try and bring in a good manager. And that's what they did with Jurgen Klinsmann. And it didn't, in the long run, it didn't work out, but it showed your intent. And I think, by just limiting yourself to MLS coaches or U.S. soccer lifers, you're regressing on the progress that you made for U.S. soccer by having a big international name come in and be your coach. I'm, again, not saying that it has to be a big international name. Maybe Caleb Porter, Tab Ramos, some of these other guys are better fits for U.S. soccer, and one of those guys ends up getting the job. But, see what's out there.
Yeah. I mean, we got to wait a couple years. We got to wait 18 months till after Russia. I mean, this conversation is going to keep going and going and going. So let's just wait until after Russia, then see who's available. Because some of these guys may not want to coach the U.S. because they're with, pretty good teams, pretty good runs. Just got to check out the candidates then, not, jump to conclusions or rush to try to find a coach right now. Because it's 2016. The job opening is not until 2018. And see how Bruce does, because he may want to stay on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If U.S. soccer does a really good job in the World Cup, say they get to the knockout round and maybe even get a win in the knockout round under Bruce Arena, and Bruce says he wants to stay on, I think he will have earned it at that point. Especially turning around the mess that Jurgen Klinsmann has created here.
Yeah, and he has good upcoming players like Julian Green, Christian Pulisic, Caleb Stanko, Paul Arreola, those kind of guys. The American that plays in Arsenal, I can't think of his name right now.
Gideon Zalalem.
Yeah, Gideon Zalalem. He has those guys coming up. It's not like the U.S. player pool is like it was in 1998. He has opportunities to progress the national team and get them further than they've ever been. Of course, I don't expect them to win, go to a semifinal like they did in 1930, but they could because it's U.S. soccer and they do things that surprise you a lot.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I think one thing that Bruce Arena is going to get U.S. soccer back to doing is, kind of playing the soccer that they're the best at. And that underdog role that U.S. soccer has kind of thrived in over the years. And, Tim Howard had the game of his life against Belgium. And there was a lot that had to go right for the U.S., and Tim Howard was one of the things that went right. But I still think that for now, maybe you can switch to that possession, free-flowing style that Jurgen Klinsmann wanted. But for now, U.S. soccer is kind of better at a counter-attacking style. And if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. There's no shame in that. Some of the best teams in the world play counter-attacking soccer.
Argentina.
Exactly.
Argentina and Copa America, they killed on the counter.
Exactly. So if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. There's no reason to force anything or force this change that, quite frankly, you don't have the talent to pull off.
Yeah, we have players with the speed to pull off a counter-attack. We have Bobby Wood up top. We got Christian Pulisic.
Well, but you're asking, Michael Bradley to be Javi. And, that's just not going to happen.
Going to do that. You got Yedlin that can fly up on the right wing. U.S. can counter-attattack, but we're not a free-flowing possession team. No. That's not what our players play in their club teams. That's not what that's not what to practice on. I don't really know what Jurgen Klinsmann was trying to do because he didn't really have any preparation or didn't have tactical advantages. He just kind of gave a formation and, hey, go do this.
Well, we don't know what he was trying to do, and that's why he doesn't have a job right now.
Exactly. All right, that's about it. Pretty good discussion. This is Sam Franco from Dirty South Soccer and Mouths of the South podcast. You can find that on iTunes and various places. Check out their Twitters. You can go back and listen for the handles. I am Riley McManus at Riley James MC on Twitter. And as we say in the United States of America, don't score on goals. Have a great week.